Hello, everyone. This is author, motivational speaker, and dating coach Matthew C. Horne. And I'll bring you a video tonight titled The Player versus the Sex Symbol. You're going to love this one. But before we go any further, always know my videos in the dating space, they're inspired by my books, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life, in addition to How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at my website, www.matthewchorne.com. Get your copies. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and to continue to push me with the algorithm so I can continue to bring you these elevated messages. But let's get right to it. The player versus the sex symbol, man. This is some real heavy game I have to spit, man. And the premise is that the player will always hate the sex symbol. Let me say it one more time. The player will always hate the sex symbol. The sex symbol, every waking moment of his existence, is dedicated to being a better version of himself, to go deeper in himself. The player, when he wakes up and his existence is predicated on how can I get my next piece of pootie. So the player will be any man that he needs to be to get his next piece of pootie. He's not grounded in anything. His life movements are very circular, and there's very little progress because he's not willing to be himself. He's any man that he needs to be in order to get his next piece of pootie. His entire reputation is based on the amount of women that are in his space at any given moment in time. So he bases his identity on his ability to get women. And the sex symbol, his identity is based in going deeper within himself and discovering deeper truths about himself and giving better versions of himself to life every day. So the sex symbol's life is always progressive. He's elevating, and he has the tangible evidence of the results of the high quality man that he is and the high quality man that he gives to life and to society. He's proven, his reputation speaks for himself. See, a player is always concerned with crafting a reputation. He crafts a reputation through over embellishment. He crafts a reputation by making sure that he's always seen with women, but he's giving these women offers to be in his space because they validate him because he's not validated within himself. And he will over embellish. He'll try to surround himself with beautiful women, and he will you will regularly catch them in lies as well. And I may get deeper into that. But they're always trying to sell you their value through the amount of women that they have around them and the amount of women that they have sex with and that they're involved with because they're not grounded within themselves. So that's the player. But the sex symbol, all he has to do is exist. So the player is trying to be, he will willingly be any man that he needs to be to get women. But the sex symbol, all he's going to do is be himself, and he's progressively getting better and elevating. So he's always having women coming to him. Women are always coming to the sex symbol because he doesn't have to try, because he did the work before he left the house. He went into deep levels of discipline, and he evolved into a man that not just has appeal to women, but appeal to society. So people want him places. People want to be around the sex symbol, the man that is fully assembled within himself. But the player wants to become the sex symbol, but doesn't have the necessary discipline to reach those levels of enlightenment and reach those levels of progressiveness and becoming, ultimately becoming and connecting with your best self internally, accepting yourself. The player wants to be everything other than himself. The sex symbol wants to be nothing other than himself. And those are the contrasts right there. That's why their lives look completely different. But the player will try to sell you on the outcomes that he gets outcomes like the sex symbol. So the player is concerned with his reputation. And so he's always carefully curating and crafting a reputation that validates the lies that he wants people to believe. He's a manipulator. But the sex symbol, his reputation precedes him, meaning that people can see the way that women react to him. Women can, people can see the way that women gravitate towards him. People can see women checking him out that the sex symbol doesn't even see checking him out. So he doesn't have to brag or boast or over embellish because his reputation precedes him. His reputation surrounds him. But the player, his reputation is something that he has to consciously create and always sell. So the player is selling himself, And the sex symbol is accepting everything that surrounds him, and other people are observing that. His reputation precedes him. And these two people are going to end up in the same places, but they're going to be having two completely different experiences. Because the player and the sex symbol are going to be where the women are. That's a given. But they're going to have two completely different set of experiences. So the player, once again, is concerned with conniving, manipulating, doing whatever he has to do to get that next piece of pooty. And the sex symbol will step up in the same spot, and he will engage with women, or women will approach him. It's going to be completely different. The interactions are going to be different, because whether a woman rolls up on the sex symbol or whether he approaches a woman, all he's looking for is himself, because he's so grounded in himself. He wants to look in her eyes. He wants to read her demeanor and see that she's completely focused on him, and that she has a level of lust and desire for him. And that can happen whether she approaches him or whether he approaches her. And so he's having a completely different experience, because he's not overexerting himself or he's not selling himself. He just exists. He's completely satisfied with himself. And women feel that level of satisfaction. And the product that he presents to the women, they're satisfied with that product because he's satisfied with himself, because he knows that he's given the absolute best that he can give of himself, not just to women, but to life every day. He doesn't desire to be anyone other than himself. He's identified the best inside of himself, and he's offered those things. He's improved his best, and he offers his best to society every day. So he knows the look that should come back to him. And the player, he's approaching women, but he's looking for an end. The sex symbol is looking for that look in her eyes that validates the man that he knows he's become. And the player is just looking for an end. Oh, can I buy you a drink? Oh, can I take you to dinner? He's looking for an end. He's looking for an end so he can offer her something to compensate for her lack of attraction to him. He knows he's not attractive enough. That's why he's always looking for an end. And the sex symbol is looking for a look. Two completely different men in the same space having two completely different experiences. And these two men cannot be in the same space for too long. Let me rephrase that. They can't be side by side for too long, because eventually the player will begin to resent the sex symbol. The player will see the ease that the sex symbol, acquires sex from women. See, the player is trying to acquire sex, so he's overvaluing women. He's overvaluing that puti. So he's willing to do anything for it. But the sex symbol looks at sex as an equal exchange, because it's offered to him so much that he knows there's nothing special about it. So the sex symbol is having an experience, and the player is operating from a mindset of acquisition. Two completely different worlds. And so the player will stand side by side with the sex symbol, because everyone wants to get close to the sex symbol. The player seeks out the sex symbol never seeks out the player in terms of proximity. So the player will always try to get close to the sex symbol, because he's seeing things happen that he's never seen before. And so they can't stand side by side for too long, because the admiration that the player has for the sex symbol is ultimately going to quickly turn to resentment. The resentment is that the the player will try to adopt the language of the sex symbol, but will not adopt the movements of the sex symbol. So the player will see that the sex symbol does not exert any effort in terms of getting women. He just exists and he has experiences. So the player knows that that is a step up from him giving offerings and looking for an end and practically begging for pussy all the time, so he can brag about it, because that's his identity, his reputation. So the player will see the sex symbol and how easily things come to him. And so he will listen to the language that's a reflection of how easily things come to him. He'll listen to the language of how the sex symbol doesn't tolerate disrespect and only entertains women who give him the experience that he's given to her. So that this is a foreign concept to a player, because a player will do anything as long as that pookie is on the table. So the player will begin to adopt the language of the sex symbol. But what's going to happen is that he's just adopting the language because he's a manipulator. So the player wants to sell the sex symbol the falsehood that he's a sex symbol. But the sex symbol is solid and grounded, and he's more elevated than the player, so he can see through the lies as soon as the player tries to tell him that we're the same person. And he'll try to tell you that we're the same person by adopting your language. Oh, I ain't tolerating that. I ain't putting up with that. Things that he's never said or things that he's never done before, because he's never seen these things before in real life, which is the reputation of the sex symbol. So he'll adopt the language of the sex symbol, but he won't adopt the movements of the sex symbol because he doesn't have the essence of the sex symbol. So there will be a disconnect from his new language and his repeated results. The player is going to have the same results that he's always had, even though he's consciously gotten into the space of a sex symbol. He's adopted the language of the sex symbol, but once again, he doesn't have the movements or the essence of the sex symbol. So what does that mean? He's taking the same version of himself to the sex symbol to try to convince him that he is the sex symbol, that he's something different than he's always been, and that he is. So I see men repeatedly, they'll adopt my language. They'll see how I don't tolerate certain things from women. They'll see that I'm not afraid to lose any woman, even if I've already had sex with her. And these are foreign concepts to most men. And so they will adopt the language, but you will see that they'll tolerate things that they say that they don't tolerate. And you'll repeatedly catch them in lies. Like, and the thing about a player is they use manipulative tactics. They're always repeating themselves. They're always repeating themselves because they're trying to sell themselves that they're you just as much as trying to sell you that they're you as well. So they're always repeating themselves. And so everything that they repeat, the mantra, that is your words, there's a huge separation in the actuality of their life from the repeated words that they try to spew to society and to you. Because they think they're a new man, but they're the same goddamn person. And why? The results in their life support that they're the same person. Because they haven't put in the discipline. See, the player is always trying to jump the line. The player is always trying to extract something from others instead of going deeply within himself to find out what he has to offer to get him the experiences that he really wants, the experiences that he's now been exposed to. See, once upon a time, the player thought he was the man, even though his first go-to was to take a woman on a date, offer her something in order to get that pookie. As long as he had a collection of women that he could brag that he had sex about, and he's amongst other men that do the same thing, and he feels like he has more women than he won. But then he was exposed to something different when he saw the sex symbol, and he got in the space of the sex symbol. He saw a whole nother side of the aisle. And so his number one concern when he wakes up, when he gets in the space of a sex symbol, is that he's going to try to convince that sex symbol that he's him, but he hasn't undertaken the work or the discipline. It's just words, it's just hollow proclamations that he repeats all the time. He's trying to convince himself just as much as he's trying to convince you, but the results in his life do not align with his hollow proclamations because he's not you. And the thing is that the realities of how the sex symbol is a sex symbol will become apparent when the player gets beside the sex symbol. So the level of discipline, the mindset, the level of self-love and self-actualization, not looking outside of yourself, these are the things that become apparent to the player who's always looking outside of himself. But it's too much work to become you, so they would rather spew rhetoric that reflects them being you as opposed to undertaking the discipline to become you. And that's where the resentment comes in, because they try to go out and do it on their own. They get close to you, they learn a few things, and they don't understand that it's coming from your essence and it's not coming from your mouth. So they'll try to replicate some of the things that they hear you say. They'll try to replicate some of the outcomes that you have. but they're going to fall flat on their face and they're not going to be able to achieve those things. See, the player has more access to more beautiful women when he's around the sex symbol. And see, what happens is that sometimes and oftentimes, once the player gets around the sex symbol, because the player will always seek out the sex symbol will never seek out the player. Once the player seeks out the sex symbol and begs to get in his space, then he's going to have access to a higher quality and higher caliber of woman because he's with a higher quality and higher caliber of man. And so he'll have some access in terms of proximity, but those women will still choose a man based on his qualities. They choose how they're going to move with him. So they'll be around some more beautiful women when they're around you. But after you're gone, they're alone with themselves. And they may even begin to go out by themselves with this renewed mindset based on the reality that they observe surrounding you. And they'll try to do the things that you do, but they won't get the results that you get because they're always trying to jump the line. They're always trying to manipulate. They're always trying to sell something that they're not. And so, since you are who you are, then they're not going to be able to replicate your results because there's no discipline there and there's no solidified outcomes that validate the life and the reality of the sex symbol man. So they'll try to become you, but women find them out very quickly, and now they're relegated back to having to give women offerings to get in their space, and they hate that shit because they see it in real time. See, the the player will be in the space of a sex symbol and see some things that he's never seen in his life, and this deepens the resentment. The same men who used to brag about being around me and beg to be around me, like every Friday night, you already know they're gonna call you because it's places that you can get in that they can't get in. It's ways that you can move around the city that they can't. And so yeah, right on cue, you'll get that call, and they'll see things, they'll witness things that they never witnessed before. They'll witness women walking up to you when you get in the spot. I'm talking about you in there for less than 2 minutes, and you say, "All right, man, I'll see you later." That woman came up to you and said, "Okay, I've seen enough," and you know what y'all are leaving to do. It happens right in front of their face, and they hate that shit. They'll admire it in the beginning, but then they'll try to go out and recreate the result and they will resent you. I've been experiencing this for 20 years of my life. So it's coming. That's why you all cannot stand side by side for prolonged periods of time. It's coming. That resentment is coming. And they're going to see things that they've never seen in their life. And then what they're going to do through resentment is the player is always going to try to take shots at the sex symbol once he's been in this space long enough to see things that he's never seen in his life, see things that it's impossible for him to recreate because he's not you. So the shots are going to come, and then it gets to a point where I've been in situations where these I've had to let these players know, these men who are any men that they need to be to get a piece of pootie. I've had to let them know when they try to take shots at me and they think they have one up on me, or they just experience some like menial shit that means a lot to them. It's like nothing to me. It's a regular experience to me. They'll try to throw that in my face, and then it'll come with, it's always slick, but there's malice behind it. There's resentment behind it. There's jealousy behind it. And so I pick up on it. And I'm like, I've let you come into my world. I've let you learn some things. I've let you experience some things. How dare you? And I tell them straight up to their face. I was like, stop that stuff, man, because you've seen me do things you're never going to see another man do in your life. The player is a peasant to a sex symbol. Real shit. And that's how I talk to them. Because all they have to do is stay in your space. It's a luxury to be in your space. They can learn from you. They can be exposed to some things that they've never seen before. But instead, it's the same cycle with every man that's ever tried to get in my space. They all want to know how I do it. Then they learn how I do it. And it goes against their nature. That's why we're different. That's why we can't stand side by side for too long. They don't have the discipline. They don't have the willingness to be themselves. They're overwhelmed and they're driven by the desire to be any man they need to be to get that next piece of booty. And so the sex symbol man is always solo. because he already knows the cycle that he's going to experience when he goes places. The sex symbol man is not often invited places because everyone's looking at each other's blind spots. And a lot of men's identity is based on the most beautiful women that they can have access to, as long as they can get an in. And you roll up in spaces and they see these women coming straight to you and they hate that shit. And the men know the sex symbols, the players know the sex symbols. And so a sex symbol will walk into an establishment and you can see disappointment on men's face when they see him. A player will walk into an establishment and you'll see a man shield the woman that he's with. He'll shield her eyes, jump in front of her so she can't see you. The players know the sex symbols. And so it leads to a solo existence because you're your own energy field. Your discipline and your focus and your love and reverence and respect for yourself has created your own energy field that's impenetrable. And so you have to walk around solo with your energy field because other men feel too uncomfortable in that energy field. They don't want it anywhere near them because they're going to feel overshadowed. They're overwhelmed because they have an underwhelming perception of themselves. The player can be the sex symbol as long as he's willing to undertake the discipline, as long as he's willing to not look outside of himself for an identity. Once you begin to discover yourself and love yourself, now you're on the road to becoming yourself. And that's when you truly become the sex symbol. So it's a solo existence. And, you know, the sex symbol, the only friends that he has are men who aren't necessarily sex symbols, but they're very secure within themselves. They're very secure within themselves. But I had some thoughts on that. I'll go into that a little bit. He's solo because a lot of his friends have taken a raw deal. These are good men who are secure within themselves, but they've taken a raw deal in terms of marriage. A lot of them, they did it. They married women who weren't into them, and they have a completely different life than you because a lot of sex symbols, they've seen so many sides of women that they're not going to take an inferior offering in terms of marriage. So a sex symbol is not against marriage. He's just not going to take a raw deal. And so the sex symbol, his good friends, a lot of them have taken raw deals. And so they're moving completely different. That sex symbol probably lives near the city. His friends, his good friends out in the burbs, living married life, man, counting down into divorce. And then the sex symbol can see the divorce before it happens. But it's not the place of the sex symbol to tell his friend that it's going to happen because life has to give him an experience that's going to be stained on his mind. It's very deep and complex with this player versus sex symbol thing, man. But I hope that this has been enlightening, that you learned a few things, man. And you have to decide what kind of man you're going to be. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm moving like a player, but ultimately, for my best outcomes in life, I need to move like a sex symbol. I'm available for coaching if you want to make that transition. This has been Matthew C. Horne, author, motivational speaker, and dating coach. Bring you a video tonight titled "The Player versus the Sex Symbol." It's brought to you by my books, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life, in addition to How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at my website, www.matthewchorne.com. Get your copies. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and to continue to push me with the algorithm so I can continue to bring you these elevated messages. And that's it, man. If you've been impacted by my message tonight, and you're better for having encountered my words, man. I want you all to make a donation to my PayPal and my Cash App information that's in my video description. I'll never tell you what to donate. Just donate according to how you've been impacted. I never take a donation lightly or for granted. And it keeps me in position. It keeps me alive. So I can be here to continue to spit this elevated game so you can be in position to be alive and awaken to the highest and best parts of yourself, man. Where beautiful women will be your norm. Where you don't have to move like a player. You can be the sex symbol that you were designed to be. And if you're in need of coaching, if you have different challenges, impediments, and circular movements and frustrations in the dating space, and you're just tired of having the same outcomes with women, I can get you past that. I can help you to overcome any situation that you're in with any woman. Any repetitive situations that keep finding their way to you, I'm your man. Okay, I'm your man. So reach out to me for coaching. It's going to be reach out to me via email, matt@matthewchorne.com. Leave coaching in the subject matter of the email. In the body of the email, you leave your name, your phone number, whatever issue that you're facing in the dating space. I'll do an assessment, and then I'll get right back to you with the terms of the coaching. You accept the terms, we set a date and time, and you get your breakthrough. It's really that simple. I'm still looking to fill the slots, the remaining slots of the 5 individuals who want to take a year-long coaching journey with me. A year-long coaching journey with me looks like a minimum of 3 coaching calls per week, 24-hour access to me in between the coaching calls. If you're in any situation with any woman that you need to immediately find a solution to, I'm yours for a whole year, 24 hours a day, scheduled coaching calls throughout the week. And I'm going to meet up with you in person no matter where you are in the world. I want to coach you in person at least once. There's nothing like this. And I want to pinpoint exactly where you are. No 2 individuals are going to have the same coaching. I want to pinpoint where you are, and we're going to start right there. And I'm going to create custom curriculum and coaching just for you in accordance with where you are right now to take you to where you want to be. Nothing like it. The breakthroughs will begin to happen immediately. So if you would like to have, undertake this year-long coaching journey with me, I can only take 5 people. I'm giving a lot of bandwidth within myself to these 5 people. So if you want to be one of the 5 people to get this year-long coaching journey with me, email me at matt@matthewchorne.com. And the subject matter of the email, put mentorship. In the body of the email, you leave your name, your phone number, and whatever issues that you're facing in the dating space in terms of where you are right now and where you want to be. I'll do an assessment, and then I'm going to call you. I'm not going to email you back. I'm going to call you. We're going to get on the phone and decide if we're a good fit to work with one another over the course of a year. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you all in regards to getting your year-long coaching journey with me. And lastly, my dating coaching community on the school platform. I want everyone to sign up. It's an amazing space for personal growth. In that school community, see, let me tell you something about the community. I talked about this subject matter on Monday night, and I'm recording this on Thursday evening right now. That's what you get when you join my school community. And the members of the community got to dialogue and discuss this with me. That's the advantage of being a part of my community. So in my school community, I give 2 exclusive videos that are not on YouTube in the community. I allow the members of the community to give me video topics, and I make those videos as in addition to making my own topics and videos and putting them in the community. Every video I make is archived. So you have dozens of videos that you can binge watch. You can join the community, catch up, and then get on that Monday night live call with me. Okay. So every Monday night we have a live in the community. Everyone who signed up for the community can get on the live with me. I do a monologue on a particular topic. We discuss it. We go back and forth on it. And then after that, for an hour, every member of the community can ask me whatever they want to ask me in terms of dating, coaching, life, anything. I'm yours for an hour every week. It's very affordable, and it's a space for irrefutable growth. You will definitely grow once you join my dating coach community, and you'll get the outcomes that you want with women, because that's what it's really all about, man. So if you're interested in joining my dating coach community, then I want you to sign up in the link that's in my video description. I want everyone to join my dating coach community. You have weekly access to me. It's an amazing space for personal growth. And that's essentially it. The player versus the sex symbol. I've enjoyed this one. And just one more thing, always watch out. You have to know when to disconnect. If you're a sex symbol, if you have favorable outcomes with women, you always have to know when to disconnect from the players. When the players begin to compare outcomes with you, when the player observes your outcomes and tries to replicate them, and then they go out there and they replicate them to a degree, because they're always going to have to give more than you give. You give nothing, you exist. They give offerings because they're not in tune and accepting of themselves, and they're not you. So once the player begins to have outcomes and tries to compare them to you as a sex symbol, they got an outcome, but they went a completely different way to get it. And that's when you need to separate right there. Because once they start comparing, they're starting to believe that they're you. And then the frustration is going to come when they understand that they're not you, when they have to continue giving the offerings and they see you exist. So there's a clash coming. But once you see the comparisons, just get out of there, because there's going to be a clash. And you never know what that clash is going to look like. And I'm telling you from personal experience. So once you see that jealousy, that resentment, just get out of there. You've already created your own space. Enjoy your energetic field and everything that comes with elevating into the sex symbol man. See you all soon.